Have you ever wondered how different the world might be if George Washington had not become our first president? A tantalizing question, isn't it? Picture it. An alternative reality where the man we know as the cornerstone of our nation's history never took the helm. George Washington is more than a historical figure. He's an embodiment of American spirit, a symbol of our nation's resilience and burgeoning identity. Born into a world of colonial rule, he emerged as a beacon of hope and strength, piloting the ship of a new nation through uncharted waters. His decisions, his actions, his very existence shaped the contours of our country, setting the precedent for all who would follow in his footsteps. And while his face may adorn our currency and his name our capital, his true legacy lies in the indelible mark he left on our nation's fabric. We are about to embark on a journey through the life and presidency of George Washington. Born into a world of colonial Virginia gentry, young George Washington was destined for greatness. His journey began on February 22, 1732, when he was born to Augustine and Mary Ball Washington. Despite the privileges of his birth, Washington's life was not without hardship. His father passed away when he was only 11, and the young George was raised largely by his older half-brother Lawrence. Education was a privilege, but not a given, and Washington pursued knowledge with a voracious appetite, learning everything from mathematics to surveying. His early career as a surveyor allowed him to explore the vast expanses of Virginia and the surrounding territories, a valuable experience that would serve him well in the years to come. As the world around him churned with the unrest of colonial politics, Washington was drawn into military service. In 1752, he was appointed to the rank of major in the Virginia militia, marking the beginning of his long military career. The French and Indian War, a brutal conflict that raged from 1754 to 1763, was a formative period for Washington. As a young officer, he demonstrated remarkable courage and strategic acumen. His first major command came in the form of an expedition to the Ohio River Valley, where he led his men with a steady hand despite the harsh conditions and the constant threat of ambush. But it was during the terrible winter at Fort Necessity where Washington truly proved his mettle. Surrounded by French and Native American forces, he orchestrated a valiant defense that earned him the respect of his peers and superiors alike. The war ended, but Washington's reputation as a military leader had been firmly established. He had faced adversity and emerged stronger, proving himself not only a capable soldier but a leader of men. But Washington's military prowess was just the beginning, as he would soon take on a role that would forever mark him in history. The spark of rebellion ignited, and George Washington found himself at the helm of a revolution. As the Revolutionary War broke out, George Washington was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. It was a role that demanded a leader of exceptional skill and tenacity, and Washington rose to the occasion with aplomb. His leadership was not just about military prowess, but also about inspiring and uniting his men in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. One of Washington's defining moments came in the winter of 1776 with the Battle of Trenton. With his troops exhausted and disheartened, Washington made the daring decision to cross the icy Delaware River, surprising the enemy and scoring a much-needed victory. This audacious move boosted the morale of the Continental Army and was a turning point in the Revolutionary War. Yet it wasn't just his strategic brilliance that set Washington apart. His unwavering commitment to the cause of liberty and his ability to rally his troops in the face of adversity were just as important. His famous farewell to his officers at Fraunces Tavern in New York City exemplifies this. As he bid them goodbye, he did not just speak as a general but as a comrade in arms, stirring their hearts with his words of gratitude and brotherhood. Washington's leadership also extended beyond the battlefield. During the grueling winter at Valley Forge, he advocated for better conditions for his troops, securing much-needed supplies and implementing training programs to improve their fighting skills. His care for his men earned him their unwavering loyalty and respect. But perhaps the most telling testament to Washington's leadership was his decision at the end of the war. When the British surrendered at Yorktown, he could have seized power for himself, as many victorious generals have done throughout history. But instead, he resigned his commission and returned to his farm in Virginia. This act of humility and dedication to the principles of democracy set a precedent for future American leaders. With the war won and independence secured, a new challenge awaited leading a newly formed nation. In the wake of victory, America needed a leader, and George Washington answered the call. Stepping into uncharted territories, Washington took on the mantle of the presidency, a role undefined and untested. His inauguration, held in New York City on April 30, 1789, was a pivotal moment in American history. It marked the transition from Revolutionary War victory to the establishment of a new nation, with Washington at its helm. Washington's presidency was far from a ceremonial role, and his key policies reflect that. His administration focused on establishing a strong national government, implementing a modern financial system, and maintaining neutrality in foreign affairs. These policies laid the foundation of a nation that was to grow into a global power. His first significant policy was the establishment of the cabinet system. Understanding the enormity of his task, he gathered a group of advisors, the first of which were Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson and Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton. This precedent of a presidential advisory group continues to this day in the form of the President's Cabinet. Another pivotal policy was the creation of a national bank. Proposed by Hamilton, this move was designed to stabilize and improve the nation's credit and manage the country's financial business. The decision was controversial, but it set a precedent for a strong federal role in the nation's economy. Washington's foreign policy was one of neutrality, a stance that he firmly believed was in the best interest of the young nation. His proclamation of neutrality in 1793 kept the United States out of the escalating European conflict following the French Revolution. This policy set a precedent for America's approach to international relations, steering clear of entangling alliances. In each decision he made, George Washington was acutely aware that he was setting a precedent for all future presidents. He navigated uncharted waters with wisdom and prudence, shaping the presidency into what it is today. His presidency set the stage for the United States as we know it today. Washington's leadership, policies, and precedents still echo in the halls of the White House, reminding us of the humble beginnings of a nation that has grown to be a global powerhouse. After serving his country, George Washington did something unexpected. He stepped down. Leaving the presidency after 2 terms, he set a precedent for future leaders and demonstrated his commitment to a government of the people, not of a single ruler. Retiring to his beloved Mount Vernon, Washington presided over his estate with the same diligence that he had led his country. His farewell address, written with the help of Alexander Hamilton, resonated with wisdom and foresight. He warned of the dangers of political factions and foreign alliances, advice that echoes through the corridors of American politics to this day. But Washington's post-presidency life was not just spent in quiet contemplation. He continued to serve his country, albeit in a different capacity. When tensions with France escalated into the quasi-war, President John Adams asked Washington to come out of retirement and lead the American army once again. Although the conflict was resolved without a major military confrontation, Washington's readiness to serve demonstrated his unwavering dedication to his nation. On December 14, 1799, at the age of 67, George Washington passed away. His death was not just a loss for his family and friends, but for the entire nation. Yet, his legacy lives on, as vibrant and influential as ever. George Washington's legacy is not just in the battles he won or the presidency he held, it is in the nation he helped create, the principles he upheld, and the standards he set. His dedication to service, his commitment to the public good, and his unwavering integrity continue to inspire. From the 2-term presidency tradition to his warnings against political divisiveness, his influence is woven into the very fabric of American governance. His legacy is also etched in stone and ink, on monuments, currency, and in our history books. But perhaps most significantly, it lives on in the hearts and minds of those who value freedom, democracy, and leadership. George Washington's legacy continues to shape the United States even centuries after his presidency. His life and leadership are not just historical facts to be remembered, but enduring lessons to be learned, cherished, and passed on. So, what makes George Washington's life and presidency so remarkable? Well, let's take a stroll through memory lane. Born into a Virginia farming family, he rose to become a distinguished military leader. His tactical prowess during the Revolutionary War was a key factor in America's victory. But his story didn't end there. Washington's first presidency was not just a title, but a responsibility he bore with grace and humility. His actions and decisions set the tone for future presidencies. He was a true servant leader, putting the needs of his nation before his own. His retirement years were equally impressive. Even in the quiet solitude of his Virginia estate, he continued to influence the nation, leaving an enduring legacy that has shaped the United States as we know it. From a Virginia farm to the highest office in the land, George Washington's journey is a testament to his character and leadership. A true American icon, his legacy lives on.